This week's topic for our conversation is on knowing without a doubt. And so what I want you to imagine is knowing something so deeply that, of course, there is a synchronistic thing that happens and it manifests instantly. Wouldn't that be amazing? Has anybody had an experience like that? Raise your hand if you've had an experience like that. Wouldn't it be great to have experiences like that, like more often? Would you like that? Well, what I want you to know is that you are having experiences like that all the time. Every moment of every day, you are experiencing what it is you know, what it is you embody. If you want to know what it is you know, look at what you're creating, and that's what you know. Showing up for you in the moment, every single time. So to understand this on another level, I want to define knowing for you. How many here checked today whether their heart was still beating? Raise your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Really, Chuck? Cliff, you checked to see if your heart was still beating? You were concerned about that?
I was checking my heartbeat after a heavy workout.
But then it must have still been beating. How many have checked in the past week or month whether their heart was still beating? We don't normally check that because we take it for granted, if we're awake, that it is. That's knowing. Now, how many have checked to see what's in their bank account in the past week? That's not knowing. That's the difference between knowing and not knowing. What we know is what we actually take for granted. What we know, we don't think about. What we know just happens. It's that level of embodiment that is actually doing the creating of our lives. Now, it's been said that what we think or what we say creates our lives. Well, it may feed our beliefs, but it doesn't create our lives. Others say that it's our beliefs that create our lives. Well, our beliefs feed our embodiment, but they do not create our lives. It's what we truly embody that actually winds up showing up. And what we want to embody is that we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings, and our lives work. That's what we want to embody. That's what we want to know. But the only way to know something is to know what you don't know. Because if you walk around saying, I already know this, then you can't learn, right? The second you say, I already know, you can no longer learn, grow, and expand. Now, there are things in this life we actually do know. Like, many people know that the other shoe's going to fall. Many people know there's always, something's going to go wrong. But this isn't what we want to know. What we want to know is that we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings and our lives work. I have, and our ability in knowing is so incredibly powerful. I have something here I want to read to you that was in the American Medical Association. This is a true case study. The patient was febrile, which means he had a fever. Gasping for air, required oxygen by mask, and every other day required thoracentesis, which is the removal of fluid from the chest, which produced 1 to 2 liters of milky fluid every other day.
Wow.
Masses the size of oranges were present in the neck, groin, chest, and abdomen. The spleen and liver were greatly enlarged. The patient was resistant to all treatment, was completely bedridden, and his life expectancy was thought to be a matter of days or weeks. Despite this, the patient was not without hope, because he had heard of a favorable publicity with which the newspapers had reported a new anti-drug called clobazam. The patient learned that the drug was being tried at the hospital at which he was confined and begged until the drug was finally granted, although with reluctance and pessimism. The patient's response was astounding. After 1 day of treatment, the tumor masses melted to half their original size. Within 10 days, all signs of his disease vanished. He breathed normally, and he was discharged from the hospital. After 2 months of almost perfect health, conflicting and pessimistic reports about clobazam began to appear in the newspapers. The patient lost hope, relapsed into his original state. The physician, however, rekindled the patient's hope by telling him not to believe what he read, that the drug deteriorated his standing, and that a new super-refined double-strength drug was to arrive the following day. The patient was then given water injections, and his optimistic expectations were restored. Recovery was even more dramatic than before. He became completely healed and was discharged and continues symptom-free for over 2 months. Remission continued until a few days after the press published the American Medical Association announcement that nationwide tests showed clobazam to be a worthless drug in the treatment of cancer. Within a few days, the patient was readmitted to the hospital and died in less than 48 hours. So here's a guy who first knew this drug worked, then knew this drug didn't work, and then knew this drug did work, and then knew it didn't work and died. That is the power of knowing. What we embody, what we truly embody is what's going to show up. And what we want to embody is that we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings, and our lives work. So how do you do that? How do you embody what it is you want? I saw this horrible movie. Actually, I only saw the first 15 minutes of it. It was so bad. It was with The Rock. He played a quarterback in which he finds out that he has a daughter. But in the first 5 minutes of the movie, I saw something that really struck me. It starts out with all this real up-tempo music, everything going great, da-da-da-da-da-da. He's asleep in his bed. The alarm goes off, he hits the alarm, he gets out of bed, and the very first thing he does is go into the room next to him, which is a gym, and works out for an hour. This guy's got muscles the size of my head. And that's how you do it. Working out every single day. Because isn't that what we want? We want to be Olympic gold medal spiritual knowers, right? To have that level of spiritual knowing within us. Well, it takes what it takes any gold medal Olympic winner to how to get there, by putting in that kind of work. Every day in and day out, knowing the truth, no matter what experience comes up. When I have circumstances that don't work for me, one of the taglines I use to remind myself is that it's gym time. This is gym time. I have a circumstance that's not working out the way I want it to, gym time. Time for me to work out with what it is I want to know. And that's what it takes. And that's what we want to do here. We want to be Olympic gold medal spiritual muscle men and women and people. And so before we open the floor for conversation, I want to have a little meditation around this.